Hey everybody, today I'm going to be making this art journal page using the supplies from the Mixed Media Inspired box for March 2021. So the first thing I did was open the Prima Diamond Ephemera pack and sort out all the pieces into a few different categories. So patterns, flowers, people, and random elements. And the one piece that really stuck out to me was this woman here. I just really loved the watercolor look of her face and then also with her hair and the flowers in them. I just thought that was beautiful and I wanted to make a page inspired by her. So today I'm going to be working in my large dilutions journal and I've already pre-gessoed the paper and now I'm gluing down a bunch of pieces of different size in the Tim Holtz Ideology Typology collage paper. And there's really no rhyme or reason to what size or where I'm placing these. It's mostly just so that I don't start out with a blank page. So I've glued all those down here and now I'm going to go in with Black Soot Distress Spray Stain and Black Soot Distress Oxide Spray. And so the first thing I sprayed down was the spray stain, and now I'm just going in with a little water and letting that move. And because this is a dye spray, it's going to be a translucent layer on my page, so I'm starting out with that. And then after I let that dry, I'm going in with a bunch of the Black Soot Oxide Spray, and because that's a dye pigment fusion, I'm going to get even more coverage with that, so I'm going to go in with some more water and let that start to move, and then also let that oxide spray start to oxidize and get that milky, chalky color that we know and love from oxide products. So, and I just did that, and you can see where the sprays were absorbed by the tissue paper, and they're still kind of splotchy and uneven coverage on the actual page where the gesso is. And I'm just going to keep going in with water and creating movement and letting that kind of blend until I'm happy with it. And I'm going to just keep also using my heat tool to help those dye inks dry a little bit faster. So I'm just going to keep, like I said, doing that until I'm happy with it. And I also used a paper towel to dab up some areas where there was a lot of ink. And now I'm using a stencil and just spraying with spray stain through that and then flipping it over and making a print with the stencil. And I'm just going to do this until I kind of fill up the background with that pattern and also some uneven ink splotch marks. And then I will clean my stencil off and get ready for the next step. So now I'm using a paintbrush and just some green paint and I'm putting down a bunch of leaves and I am putting them along one strip up and down and then also a horizontal line because I know that is where I will be placing my elements later. So these leaves will pop up from behind all of the elements that I intend to layer. So in placing these leaves, I did think a little bit about where I would end up putting my future layering elements. And then I just painted the leaves in. So some of these leaves I know will be covered up and some will stick out from beyond the other elements I'm going to glue down. And I'm just going to keep painting the leaves until I feel like there's enough coverage. And then I'm also going to go in with a little bit of that green paint and white that I mixed together and just put some highlights onto the leaves. And I'm purposely not blending those in so that you'll see the two-tone marks on the leaves and it gives it more of a painterly watercolor look to mimic the face of the lady that we will be using later on. So here I have a piece of Dina Wakley Media watercolor rag paper and I am using a wet brush and scribble sticks to start to make some flowers, and these are mimicking the flowers that are in the lady's hair. And so I'm using a wet brush and then just brushing it along the scribble stick, and I'm layering color to paint these flowers. So the first color I used was apricot, then lemon, and now I'm switching to cheddar. And by taking my wet paintbrush and applying it directly onto the scribble stick, I'm able to activate that pigment that's in the stick, and then I can end up painting with it, and it gives it a much looser watercolor look. And also, depending how much water on your brush you have, is going to depend how light or dark a color is. So if you want it to be darker, just simply don't have as much water on your brush. And this is a watercolor pencil that I embrowned that I am now just adding dots for the center of my flower. And I'm going to go in and make a second flower, and this time I'm starting out with my first layer of cheddar, and then I'm going to use sedona with a very wet brush, and then going in with that brush again, and now it's not as wet. I'm just going to add a little bit more of that sedona color to make it darker in the center of the flower, and the watercolor pencil again to make those dots to put in the center of the flower. And after I had these two color variations, I decided I wanted a lot more, so I painted a bunch of those on that sheet and then cut them all out with my scissors. And then I'm going to glue down this black and white pattern piece, which was also part of the ephemera set. And it wasn't quite long enough for the entire reach of my paper, so I just cut it down the middle. And then I'm going to go from the bottom to the center and the top to the center, and that little gap that you will see here in a minute will end up being covered up with other layering elements that I'm going to glue down. So that's how I was able to make that piece reach the entire length of my paper. So now I'm going to start placing down all of these scribble stick watercolor flowers that I made. And I'm just going to have them be overlapping that black and white patterned piece of paper, or die cut ephemera piece actually. So I'm just going to, again, keep placing down all these flowers. And I started out with the Dilutions glue stick to glue all these down. But I do eventually switch to Dina Wikimedia Media Ultra Thick because that gave me a little bit more of an open time and I was able to move around the flowers as I was making my design decisions. So I'm also making sure to place the different colors of flowers in different areas separated so that not all of the one style is directly together. And then I'm going in with a Nouveau glitter marker, and this color is Fired Brick, and I'm just adding some dots to the center of my flowers to also add a little sparkle into the flower. So now I'm going to lay out some of my elements together so that I can start to see where everything will come together and how it will look, and then that helps me to make a determination for my next piece as I can see how it will relate to all the other pieces. And this is just a scrap of burlap that I had from another project that I'm attaching with Dina Wikimedia Ultra Thick, which is a really great adhesive for heavier materials like burlap. And that is what's going to end up covering that gap in that black and white piece as I mentioned earlier. And now I'm ready to put down the lady die cut. And that will be spanning not only over the burlap, but onto some of the flowers as well. And making sure that the adhesive goes all the way to the edges with this so that it doesn't lift or curl later on. And now I have one more flower left, which I'm going to put over the top, overlapping some of those other elements. And then a die cut from the same set that says beautiful with gold foil metallic letters. And that I'm also going to overlap over the top of the flower on the right side and the neck of the woman. And then I'm going to add a gold metal brad to the burlap by just pushing it through the hole in the burlap and then bending the ends back. Now I'm adding some paint splatters, but I didn't want any to get on the face, so I just ripped up some paper towel to cover that and then watered down that light green paint that we made earlier to splatter all over the page. And then I can remove that and also use it to dab up some spots that I didn't want it to get on the word, and then leave that to dry. And this is our finished page. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that I inspired you to create something in your own art journal. Be sure to share with us using hashtag #ArtJournalJunction. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our future art journaling videos and mixed media projects. Have a wonderful day.